You know, when you watch pro wrestling today, you see these superstars just soaring through the air, right? They're pulling off moves that seem to defy physics. It's this incredible aerial spectacle. But what if I told you that this entire high-flying style, the very DNA of what we see now, wasn't invented last year or even in the 90s? Nope. It all started with one revolutionary man back in the 1950s. Get ready to meet the guy who literally taught wrestling how to fly.
I mean, with so many incredible aerial artists in the ring today, it kind of feels like this style has just always been there. But every single revolution has a starting point, right? So who was that first spark? Who was the pioneer who looked at that wrestling ring and saw, I don't know, not just a mat, but a launch pad?
Well, the answer is Antonino Rocca. Today, we've got a whole roster full of high flyers. Back then, there was just him. He was a complete anomaly. A guy so far ahead of his time that he basically changed the sport's entire trajectory. And to really get just how big his impact was, we've got to go back to the beginning of his journey.
See, Rocca's story, it doesn't start in some sold-out arena. It starts with a journey that spanned continents. And his immigrant background wasn't just some biographical detail, it was the secret sauce, the source of his incredible connection with the fans.
He was born Antonino Biasitin in Italy, but his family moved to Argentina when he was a teenager. And his path was anything but ordinary. Get this, he wasn't just an athlete. He studied electrical engineering and was a seriously skilled rugby player. So this unique mix of brains and brawn, it shaped the innovator he'd become long before he ever stepped into a ring and made his way to the United States. So when he lands in this post-war New York, a city just bustling with immigrant communities, Rocca becomes an instant phenomenon, especially for the city's huge Hispanic and Italian populations. I mean, they saw way more than just a wrestler. They saw one of their own. Here was this charismatic, successful immigrant taking the city by storm, and they absolutely embraced him as their hero. But listen, it wasn't just his background that made him a star. Not by a long shot. It was what he did inside the ropes. Rocca introduced a style that was so foreign, so electrifying, that people had never, ever seen anything like it before. He was a true, honest-to-goodness innovator. Okay, so to really appreciate Rocca's revolution, you have to understand the world he walked into. The popular style at the time was called Slam Bang Western, and it was exactly what it sounds like. A tough, gritty, ground-based brawl. It was all about mat grappling. It was slow. Wrestlers stayed on the mat, period. And Antonio Rocca, he was about to tear that rulebook to shreds.
To put it simply, Rocca took wrestling off the ground. He unleashed this whole arsenal of aerial moves that American audiences had never witnessed. His famous Argentine backbreaker was just the start. He popularized the dropkick, the Hurricane Rana, all these flying attacks. I mean, in an era of slow, static grappling, he was a whirlwind of motion.
And look, that's not just us looking back with modern eyes. The consensus was clear even back then. He wasn't just tweaking the style, he was inventing a brand new one. He is widely and rightly credited as the man who brought the high-flying style to America, full stop. So what happens when you combine that incredible immigrant hero charisma with a totally revolutionary style in the ring? Well, you get the biggest star in the biggest city in the world, a man who can sell out the most iconic arena on demand. Rocca became the main attraction for the Capital Wrestling Corporation, yet the very same company that would eventually evolve into the WWE we all know today. And his home turf was the most famous arena on the planet, Madison Square Garden. He wasn't just on the card, he was the card. And the proof? Oh, it's right there in the numbers. On January 2nd, 1960, Rocca drew 21,950 fans into Madison Square Garden. That set a new attendance record for the building in the whole post-war era. This wasn't just a wrestling star, this was a legitimate cultural force. His fame even crossed over into the world of high culture. Rocca, who was a huge opera fan, actually struck up a genuine friendship with the legendary conductor, Maestro Arturo Toscanini. Yeah, one of the most famous classical conductors in the world was a massive wrestling fan. This shows you Rocca wasn't just some niche athlete, he was a mainstream celebrity.
So how do we even measure the legacy of a man who changed an entire industry? I mean, his influence didn't just stop when he stepped away from the main event. He remained a totally pivotal figure for decades to come.
After his peak as New York's top draw in the 50s, his journey just kept evolving. He spent the 60s as a global ambassador for his style, wrestling all over the world. By the 70s, he came back to the company he helped build, but this time as a beloved commentator, sharing his wisdom with a whole new generation.
And after he passed away, the industry he revolutionized made absolutely sure he would never, ever be forgotten.
His place in history is cemented. It's locked in. He's been inducted into every major wrestling hall of fame you can think of, from the WWE's to the Wrestling Observer's. It's safe to say if there's a Mount Rushmore for wrestling innovators, his face is carved right up there. These honors just confirm what the fans knew all the way back in the 1950s. He was truly one of a kind.
So the next time you see a wrestler leap from the top rope or perform a breathtaking Hurricane Rana or just take to the skies, remember Antonino Rocca. Remember the man who first taught wrestling how to fly. And it leaves you with one big question, doesn't it? How much less exciting, how much more grounded, and just how truly different would the sport we love be without its original high flyer?